Today we are tackling the kitchen and giving it a much needed deep clean. I usually try and get all of this done before the holidays, but that did not happen this year. I ended up starting this a little bit before Christmas, and with all the craziness of the holidays and New Year's and birthdays and snowstorms and all of this, I did not get this done until about the middle of January. So this was a really long process. So the first thing I start out with is the ceiling. I know that sounds really weird. My family laughs at me because I do this, but we have the horrible popcorn ceiling and it can sometimes get dusty and dirty. So I like to use my Bona mop and just go through and wipe it all down. And I am using my favorite cleaner. This is Force of Nature. I have a video sharing that, and that is my favorite cleaner to use, and that's pretty much what I use throughout this whole video. Next up, I'm cleaning the light fixtures. Um, we totally didn't realize a few years ago that whenever we replace these, what these light fixtures look like. So I'm gonna have the editor insert a funny clip here.
I just want to know if you got a ceiling titty too, a ceiling titty too.
This is why we lovingly call these ceiling titties. It is really funny, and even in my planner video, I had to do like my yearly collections where I write out like my cleaning schedule for the year. Even there, that's what I call these. I thought that's really funny, but these really need to be cleaned. It's crazy how dirty they get in just a year. Now I clean the walls. What I do is I just get a new mop head for my mop and I go over everything as best as I can, and then I'll come through and use a rag and like get anything that it couldn't get. It's a lot easier on my arms and I don't have to do quite as much work whenever I do it this way, because there are inevitably little bitty spots and little bitty things that it just can't get. And also, I just get the areas that I can get easily. I'm not like moving furniture and stuff and doing all of that right now. Whenever I tackle all that, I'll move everything out and get behind the walls whenever I'm cleaning that piece of furniture. After that, I get the window cleaned, and I also do the air conditioner too, but we did that just a couple of months ago, and we also got in between the windows, so I'm not going to mess with doing any of that, just the outside, getting it all tackled and nice and clean. Next up, we're going to tackle the pantry. This is such a big project. It is really daunting to me because to do the whole thing from top to bottom takes me probably close to 2 hours. So this was a really long day, but we're just going to start from the top and work our way down. And the first thing I do is I take my plant. This is my pothos plant that I have had probably since 2018, I think. So it is pretty big, and I'm going to put it in the shower and get it all cleaned up. I like to do that with my plants about every quarter, that because they get really dusty. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to tackle the medicine. I went through a bunch of this whenever we got sick last year and realized that there was a lot of expired things. So we really condensed down a lot from what we used to have. So we don't have quite as much, and I decided to store most of that in our closet since most of it we don't really need to access. But I do have like the things that we use all the time, plus like our first aid box and also like our extras of things that we go through pretty quickly. So I keep all of that in here, and then everything else I move to our closet, and it is like probably a quarter of what it was. There was so much expired medicine that I totally didn't even realize was that old. Then we're going to move on to the second shelf, and all of those glass jars that you see there, that's what I use to make my vinegar. I do homemade vinegar. I use fresh herbs and dried herbs to do that. I use the dried herbs in the wintertime. I have a batch of that going right now, but if you'd like to check out those videos, I also have those videos on my channel of how to make vinegar. It's a really fun project, and I really like that. And this is like where I keep most of my spices and stuff. So I'm going to go through all of that. I am still struggling to find a system that I like with that. I got some different containers and I'm trying that out, but I think ultimately I need to change. I had saved a few of these glass jars that I had got, and I was using those for some of my spices, and I just don't like them as much. I can't get my most of my measuring spoons down in there, so I think I'm just gonna go ahead and keep the containers that they normally come in and not like decant it into the glass ones. I've yet to do that. I need to do that, but I don't know. I need to figure out something with like getting them all to fit, because for some reason the way the Walmart bottles are, they don't fit very well in these containers, like them slim containers. I don't know. I wish I can figure it out, but this is still a work in progress. I'm not happy with it, so I'm just gonna have to keep changing. I did the bigger containers last year and thought that would work, but it's not really working so great. So I'm just trying to figure out a way to get my spices to stand, and I can still use my measuring spoons. Basically, I just want it functional. So if y'all have any suggestions, please leave them down in the comments below. I basically have this little shelf that I made to go in the pantry. This has been a great addition. I think it's just some little wire shelf that we cut down, and then what did we use? I don't even remember. Some type of little clamp thing we used to put it on, and that has been working great for like keeping the spices lifted up and everything. But I just need to figure out a way to keep them easily sorted where they don't fall down. So if y'all have any suggestions, I would really appreciate that. Also, I wanted to do a little bit of rearranging here. I've got some salt and vinegar and alcohol and like my big bottle I use to make some of my cleaners. I wanted to put all of that underneath the sink. I thought that would be a lot better to have all my cleaner stuff there. So I'm going to move all of that out, and I was hoping that I could move the blender, mixer, food processor. That's what it is. I was hoping that I could move that down below in the bottom, but it is just like a half of an inch too tall. So that does not work. What I decided to do is just keep it here. I was not about to tackle moving the shelves after I had got all of this done. So it's going to stay exactly where it's at. Now I'm moving on to the third shelf, and this is basically my baking shelf. I have all of my baking stuff. This is like one of my favorite hobbies, so I have quite a lot, but we're going to go through and get everything wiped down. And I'm like halfway through this pantry, and my motivation is really waning. I think the only thing that is pushing me through is I am so excited. I got these new pantry labels at Walmart. They just had them hanging down the baking aisle, and they were like right in the middle in the baking aisle, and they were so cute. I have had these same labels for probably 10-15 years, so I was super excited about that, and they turned out really, really cute. They were only like $2. I'm not sure how they'll hold up because I haven't had them very long, but they are adorable and I am loving them. The only negative is they do not have one for cornstarch. So it looks kind of weird because all of them look this really cute with this cute little font except for cornstarch. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to try and figure out the font maybe and I can write on the cornstarch because that's really bothering me. But I really loved it. I even went back to Walmart to see if they had another set of them that possibly had cornstarch on it, but no. So I'm gonna have to like figure out how to DIY that because that's really driving me crazy. But I am really happy with how cute they look. I love just little bitty changes like that can really change your mood and how much you enjoy something. This next shelf is such a mess. This is where I keep like all of our nuts and seeds and some of our like a lot of the vegan things and like prepackaged things, a lot of prepackaged things, rice, beans, all of that. I have so much in here. I do not know how to get this all corralled, honestly. I don't know if there's any hope for it because I think I try and put way too much in here, but I just try and make this work as best as I can. And in fact, it is even worse because we had a snowstorm and got a few more prepackaged things than what we usually do because we have lost power for like 2 weeks before. So I did not want to not have at least some food on hand. So it's still in a bad state right now, but I honestly don't know what to do. I think we just need to try and not have as much, but I don't know. It's just nice to have things really easily accessible. So I don't know. If y'all have any suggestions for that, leave that down in the comments too. So I don't know. Hopefully it turns out okay, but I guess at least all of it's clean. So at least we got that. Now I'm finally on to that last shelf, and this is where I put all of my appliances and stuff. And once I got all of that pulled out, I could not believe how bad the mildew is. This is the negative of living in the South, is we have a lot of humidity issues and have a lot of mildew. It's not just our house too. We have been to quite a few auctions and other people's houses have the same issue. So I guess it's just we have that high of humidity here. But that was a job to try and get all of that off of the wall, especially in that like weird of a space. So I decided to get my mop and try and use that to help me, and it helped get it a lot better. I still can't get everything off. I need to just probably repaint it, and since I couldn't get it all cleaned off, but I am super happy to get that nice and clean because it really looks bad, and even though you can't see it, it just bothers me. So I got all of my appliances pulled out. And Robert ended up coming through and trying to get through all of that whenever I had all the appliances pulled out, and he's like, it looks like the shelf threw up. So I ended up finally getting all of that put back together, and all of the appliances are nice and clean. So So we are finally all sorted and have all this whole pantry completely clean. It's a different day and we are tackling the chicken cabinet now. So the first thing I do is I get all of the outside cleaned up, and I also move it out and clean the wall and the floor and all of that. And then I'm going to tackle the inside. This is basically our junk drawer. I store all of our batteries here, both rechargeable and not. I store a bunch of our hand towels and dish rags and my mop heads. And then we also have this side that is completely out of control. It has a lot of our, I don't know, like electronical stuff. I guess we have a lot of electronical cords. And then we also just have like random bits and bobs. It is such a wreck, and I was literally trying to shut the door, and the door would not shut anymore. So this really needed to be tackled. It was such a mess, and I am really happy with how we got it in the end. I actually took some of the stuff that we had in that random bits and bobs drawer, and I added it to the sale at the auction. That's kind of what we're doing with a lot of our stuff. Instead of taking it to donations, we're trying to get a little bit more income, so we're doing that, and I was a lot happier with how it turned out this time. Sometimes it's usually like I can never fit everything in there, but it worked out pretty well, and we were able to actually shut the door, and it actually looked organized. I used these little the things I was using for the spices, the little containers. I used some extra of those, and that really worked to help corral some of like the super glue and things like that. So it worked out really good, and I'm really happy with how well it turned out. after I got the chicken cabinet cleaned up, I decided to just tackle the drawers. I was trying to just do just a little bit at a time and just keep going. And I could not believe how dirty this silverware drawer got. It is crazy how fast these things get dirty. I probably need to do this a little more often, but at least we're tackling it now. The next drawer is where we keep like our extra utensils and just some of the things that I can't fit in the canister up top. So since I only have 3 drawers in the kitchen, this is like prime real estate for me. And these drawers had gotten so packed full. And some of this stuff we do use from time to time, like maybe a few times a year, just not all the time. So since I have such a small space here and just a little bit of space to use, I am trying to use that space wisely. So what my thought process was is I would take the things that I use like on a daily to weekly basis in here, and I am definitely going to keep those and try and put it to where they're easily accessible. And everything else I wanted to still keep in the kitchen, but I didn't have a drawer to put it in. So my idea was to take these little shoe boxes from Walmart, the plastic ones that are like $1. I got those and I just put all of the extra utensils in there. In hindsight, I should have probably done this different because I forgot about all the stuff in the bottom drawer, like the big knives and stuff, and some of them wouldn't fit, but I probably should have did this backwards and used the longer one for that. But I tried my best to get it all sorted. But I am really happy with how well this turned out. Everyone in the house has commented about how nice it is to not have things like getting in the drawer. There's always something like stopping the drawer or not closing, and also things would fall back behind the drawers, and I cannot believe the amount of things that I pulled out from back behind there. So hopefully this will help those issues that we're having. I'm just really going for functionality, and at the moment this is really functioning well. Also, I forgot to mention that I just decided to put them shoe boxes underneath our pantry. I have that other big white, I guess clear and white tote, and that's where I keep all of my hummingbird stuff, and I also have the container that I keep the hummingbird food in. So I have all of that in the kitchen too, easily accessible. But there was also enough space that I could put these shoe boxes, and that has been working great. So I am super happy that we decided to do this. So far it is working really good, and I'm really not going for a Pinterest. Obviously this is like not Pinterest perfect. I'm just going more for functionality and practicality. So right now that is working really good for us. Another thing I'm trying to get better about is using these reusable bags. It is going to save a lot of money, but that is one of the main things that I was losing in the back. And I was like, why do I not have any of these? And they were all had fallen in the back. So I decided to use them small containers as well to like make little sections for the different sized reusable bags. And that has been working great too. I find that we are using them more and more. So that is perfect. Just what I was hoping. I was so motivated from getting all of those drawers so nice and clean. I decided to move on to under the sink. This one is another daunting task. our cabinet basically goes all the way back, like all the way the length of the stove. So it gets to be a pretty big mess under there because stuff just gets shoved back there. I had already went through and got like a lot of the Walmart bags out of there. Those seem to pile up really bad, and I had so much stuff in there. I ended up finding quite a few things to add to the auction pile. I was really happy about that, and there was just a lot of things that were just out of place, and I ended up replacing some of these containers. Some of them were starting to leak, so I have an extra one of those that I ended up getting through, and there was some of these chemicals. I decided to use gloves too because it was quite a mess and kind of harsh chemicals, and I'm really sensitive to things, so I'm like trying to dig everything out and go through it. It is really awkward positions in here, so I got all of that sorted, and I was super happy too. I was able to get those cleaners, like with the alcohol and the vinegar and the salt and all of that that I use for my cleaners. I was able to get all of that put in here too. I decluttered so much, so everything really worked out great, and hopefully I can keep this from getting out of control. It probably will still be an issue with the Walmart bags. I'll just have to kind of stay on top of those every now and then, but hopefully everything else will still stay really nice. And I guess I was just on a roll this day because I told myself I'm just gonna try and finish the rest of the bottom cabinets. So I started with, this is like my baking cabinet, and I have all of my measuring spoons and cups hanging on the door, and that has been so nice. I love that so much. It's so easy just to reach in and grab what I need. So I got all of that nice and clean, and I didn't do much rearranging in here. I pretty much have everything the way I want it. I just did a little bit more tidying. I think I might have moved the funnels a little bit because they were also falling down in the hole. So I think I did move that, but other than that, I didn't do a whole lot of rearranging. I might have did that off camera too, but I just thought about it and like that would probably be better. So I think that turned out pretty good. It really wasn't that bad. I just made sure and got everything nice and clean. We have a really small kitchen, so all I had left to do to get all of the bottom cabinets cleaned was these two here. And I had so much stuff packed into here. There was a lot that I decided to put in the auction. I was really happy with that, and some of the stuff doesn't really fit through very well, so we have to kind of put it on its side to get it in, but we make it work. And I was really happy with how well it turned out. I'm probably going to declutter a few more of these glass jars. I'm just trying to make sure we have plenty. So I do need to work on that, but I got rid of a lot of the Tupperware containers and some of the bowls and things like that, and it's a lot better. I also wanted to mention that I have found, for me personally, that if I have all of my storage containers stored with the lids on, that works so much better. I don't have the issue of mismatched containers or having a container without a lid, and also I have less of them, so whenever I go and need a container and there's not any, I know that there's probably stuff in the fridge that needs to be thrown out. That way things aren't too old in there. That really helps me a lot, and I hope that that helps y'all too. Since there was only 5 more cabinets to go and I would have all of that done, I decided to push through. Oh yeah, and I just remembered, this was New Year's Eve. I was super motivated. I'm like one of these like last minute people. I like try and cram as much as I can last minute at the end of the year to try and get everything done. So I was like really pushing myself. Plus I had an audiobook going and I was like, I can so finish this before the end of the year. So I was like trying to get as much of this cleaning done and my audiobook done all at the same time with like hours to go. Do any of y'all do that? Like, I am such a procrastinator, and I do that. But I was going through all of this, and I ended up getting rid of a lot of things here. I ended up just setting it all on the chicken cabinet at first because there was enough of space for it there. I think I'm gonna try and insert a funny clip at the end of everything whenever Something happened. I'll try and add that in. It was really funny. But I went ahead and got all of these cabinets done, and I actually ended up decluttering a lot. I don't think I showed everything I decluttered because I asked Robert after I got it done. I'm like, "Hey, do you think we could get rid of these? We never use them." And he's like, "Sure, go ahead." So I ended up getting rid of even more. So it turned out really, really good. Like me recording this. All the auction stuff is falling. We just grabbed the whole bag and all and lift it up. It's just sitting up there precariously. This is all auction stuff. You saved it?
Trying to throw everything away. Everything came tumbling down.
It tried to kill you. What is it with me? We're already starting this year. I'm getting you with the scissors, now setting you up this way. We're back to what we used to be. Now we're on to another day and yet another dreaded task. I really despise cleaning the refrigerator. It is such a big task. It usually takes me about 2 hours. And on top of that, it's also really awkward to get into. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But right now, we're just cleaning up the knickknacks and the oil lamps and things like that that are on the fridge. And I ended up getting rid of quite a few things. I really love this one dish, but I don't end up using it at all. So I decided we're going to put that in the auction, as well as this other jar that we had found that's from Italy. I really just decided we'll just be more minimal and get rid of that. And I would really like to incorporate more plants. So I decided that I'm just gonna to put all the other stuff like that in the auction. It's not really functional or anything. It's just pretty. And I'm gonna try and take some cuttings from my favorite neon pothos plant, and I'm gonna try and get all that rooted, and then I'll have a plant up here on the fridge. I think that will look really nice. Well, I guess technically we're gonna tackle the freezer first. But this was such a mess. We had sauces and stuff that had spilled over. There was quite a few things that I had seen the last time I cleaned the freezer, and I'm like, if we haven't used it, I said then if we haven't used it, that I'm gonna throw it out. So I ended up throwing quite a few things out, and there were quite a few things as well that I had saved in there, like leftovers and stuff that I thought people might want to use for breakfast that they had not. So I went through and I made note of all of those things, and I am happy to report that we have used a lot. I haven't got through all of it yet, but I have got through a good portion of that. I know whenever at the end, whenever I put everything back, it's just like never ending. I kept finding more and more things that needed to get put in there, but it is nowhere near as packed now, and we are actually getting through some of these things. That one thing I found was from 2023 and I just used it the other day because there was nothing wrong with it, but I was so glad that I went through all this, and I'm like mentally making a note to use all of this, and it has been so nice too. It has really helped with the grocery budget just using these things that we had just saved. And I know everybody may be having something a little bit different, but it's been really easy, basically like TV dinners, almost like homemade TV dinners, and it has saved so much money and been super easy. So I'm glad that we went through all of this and specifically like made notes to get through all of this. thought I would give a quick update of how our living room is looking since we got rid of the inversion table, and it is so nice. We have so much more space, and I was also showing what our pothos looks like that I'm about to take the cuttings from, but it is super long and so nice, like longer than the fridge. I bought this thing in March of last year and it has grown so much. I love it. It is like my one of my favorite plants that I have. So I'm taking cuttings of the long stems and also some of the leaves that are growing off of it, like so I can get that in the water. I took those off. I've never successfully been able to root them, but I thought rather than trying to throw them away, I'm gonna give it a try. I had seen some people were able to do that, but they said they don't vine, but I thought that'd be okay and just kind of make the plant look really bushy. So none of it has rooted yet. I'm hoping that it will do that soon. And I also took cuttings from this other pothos plant that I have, and I'm gonna make a plant for one of my children that they were wanting another plant in their room, so I'm gonna do that, and hopefully all of this will root and we will have lots of nice plants. That is the good thing about pothos. They are like the plant that just keeps on giving. Not only are they really easy to take care of, but you get multiple cuttings from them. Like I usually go through and do it at least once a year. So I am super happy with pothos. They are like one of the easiest plants to take care of, and they are great because they just keep multiplying too. I also decided to get next to the fridge tackled, and this is where we have our toaster oven or air fryer, and we also have our microwave. I decided to wait on the toaster oven. It really needs something harsh, like easy off, and I'm going to have to do that outside because that stuff and me do not get along. But for the microwave, I like to use a little bit of water and some lemon juice in a microwave safe container. I just usually use a glass measuring cup, and I put that in the microwave for about 2 minutes, and that really helps to loosen some of the buildup in there, and it just makes cleaning it a lot easier. Also, whenever I was moving all of this out, I found my cover that goes over the microwave. I have been looking for that for months and completely thought it was gone. It was just behind the microwave, which is really funny. But I like to pull everything out and be sure and wipe all the countertops and the walls and all of that, get all of that nice and clean. It just is so nice at the beginning of the year or at the end of the year to prep for the new year to have the kitchen just like completely reset and all nice and clean and refreshed. I'm also going through our canister to where we keep all of our kitchen utensils to where they're easily accessible, but we have got way too much in here, so I'm going through and figuring out what it is that we use on a regular basis, and I decided to put some of the others in them other shoe containers that I now keep under the pantry. So they're still in the kitchen, they're just like not taking up prime real estate. Now I'm kind of doing this orbiting method where I basically go around in a circle around the room. I'm just tackling the next thing that's down the line. So I'm going to go ahead and get our vent hood all cleaned. I need to clean the filter and all of that. It's surprising how dirty these things get. So I'm going to do that, and you won't be seeing me clean the stove or oven or anything like that. We really need to change that. I'm sure you can probably see some of the lights are on. The oven does not work at all, and the stove is not the best. So hopefully we will get that done soon, and hopefully we will get some of the renovations done too. We definitely need to address the flooring and things like that. So hopefully there will be videos of that coming up soon in the near future. I also decided to go ahead and get the dish rack washed. I usually do this whenever I do my weekly home blessing hour, but since I was already working on all this stuff and I was going to do that tomorrow, I decided to go ahead and be one step ahead for the next day and go ahead and get this done. Another thing I like to do that can easily be forgotten is to wash all of our bottles. We use only filtered water, and I like to keep a stock of that. I try and keep enough to where I can make my vinegar all in one go, and we also keep some in the fridge too. So I go ahead and get all of those bottles nice and washed. I know it doesn't seem like it with just using water, but they really can get dirty throughout the year. So I make sure and add that to my task and all the list of things that I need to get done. So with that, another thing that we do is clean the water filters. And here is an example of why I like to filter our water. You can see all the chunks in there and how dirty the filters get. Now, whenever they get this dirty, they do not filter water very well, so we have to clean them, but I cannot believe the chunks and everything in the water. I am so glad that we have these water filters and can filter our water. Not only does it filter all of that out, but it also is like the best tasting water ever. I feel like a water snob because I do not like to use any bottled water like Dasani or any of those bottled waters. This tastes so much better. It is like the best tasting water. The only water that I've tasted that's better is like spring water, but other than that, this is the best. So I am super, super happy. It gets out all of the chlorine, so I highly recommend these Berkey water filters. They are great. So I have Robert help me with this task. These are quite the investment, so I don't want to break anything, so he's going to clean them for me. And these are ceramic filters, so we find that it is a lot better to use gloves. It completely dries out your hand, and you can just see how dirty they are. And we also like to use a new Brillo pad and clean them, and you want to try and be really careful and not get any dirty water or anything like that in the very bottom where it filters out. So I'm not the best at detail stuff, so I asked him to do it, and he does that for me. He's a lot better at it. But we did end up having a casualty. We have had these for probably 6 years, I think, 6 or 7 years, and we generally have to clean them about twice a year, I would say. And yeah, one of them did not make it. It was quite the mess, but yeah, they work really good. This is the first time we've ever had that happen. Of course it would happen whenever you're filming, but we really do like it. I know nothing negative. I think that's pretty good to last 6 years. So we really, really do like the Berkey filters. Also, I forgot to mention at the first, whenever he's like having to pour out all the water, he was telling me, he's like, it would have been easier if you wouldn't have just filled it up. And I'm like, no, that was from the other day. So just to show how little water was filtering out of this white one, especially, it was like not even giving me a quart in like probably 24 hours. So it was really bad and really needed to be washed, but it's doing great now. It is super fast. And the silver one gets through water really fast too. It's like less than 2 hours whenever they're fully clean. So they work pretty fast, and it's like all gravity too. You don't have to have it hooked up to your hose or like your faucet or anything, and they just are great. I really, really like them. Now we're on to the last few things. I like to defrost my freezer. So the first thing I do is unplug it, and then I take everything out, and I like to put everything in a pile. I use my laundry basket and pile it all up, and I cover it with a comforter. I find that that helps insulate it so the food doesn't like thaw out at all, really. It doesn't take very long. This day, I think it completely was defrosted in an hour, but you can tell that the ice was definitely starting to build up. I try and do this at least once a year. I find once a year is generally good. If you do have an upright freezer, though, you may have to do it more often. I don't know why, but those seem to have a lot more issues with ice. But yeah, this is a really good thing to do. The only thing is to be sure and remember to plug it back in whenever you're done. That would be horrible to lose all of your food. It has taken me years and years of trial and error to finally come up with some sort of a system that works for me. Having a chest freezer, the only negative is it's kind of hard to find things. So as you can tell, I use cardboard boxes, I've used crates, and here recently I started doing the reusable bags, and I have found that has worked great for me. I just kind of break it up into different categories. So I've kind of got our proteins in a category. I have one with all of our pork. I do chicken breast in a bag, chicken thighs in a bag. I also do a separate bag with ham. I have a bag for our fruit, and then I have a bag with like our more kind of like pre-made meals like our stuffed peppers and things like that, and that has been working great for me. So I'm gonna just keep with this. I do not put like the really big things, like whatever we use whenever we smoke. We use the big whole pieces of pork, and we also use the chicken leg quarters. I just keep those down at the very bottom of the freezer, and that seems to be working great. So y'all have to experiment, but for me, that has worked really good, is just to use these reusable bags and section it out like that. We recently, in the past few months, bought another small freezer. I had actually thought about taking it back because I don't really think we need that space, but all the other family members are really happy with it. They love it. And what we use that for is like all of our garden produce. I have like pumpkin in there, and our peppers and our spaghetti sauce. And also, let's see, I keep like broccoli in there too. Just a lot of vegetables and things in there. So since that's just pretty new and like just a few months old, I decided I wouldn't worry about cleaning it because it's pretty new. And we'll just stick with this one, which is mainly what I keep like our proteins in and like our easier like fast food type meals. Here is our declutter pile. We got a really good sized tote completely full of all kinds of stuff. It's crazy to think that we got this much out of this tiny little kitchen. Well, we certainly did do a lot of cleaning. Thank y'all so much for sticking around with me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That is completely free. And if you would like, you can also leave a donation. There's several different places in the description to do that if you would like to. We really appreciate all of y'all's support. Y'all take care, and I hope that y'all have a wonderful 2025. See y'all next time. Bye.